back and sending them to overtime. What a crazy overtime that was. My gosh, Zane Gonzalez had a chance to kick a 41-yard field goal to win the game, but they had to call a timeout because they almost had a delay of game. He misses the field goal, gives Russell Wilson another chance. Hassan Reddick sacks him. Byron Murphy sacks him, and that takes Seattle out. The Cardinals drive back down the field. Zane Gonzalez redeems himself with a 48-yard field goal. Just an incredible game, which saw almost 1,100 yards of offense, Jose. I mean, everything you could want and imagine in a football game happened last night in Glendale.
Yeah, it was a great one. I mean, it was like an instant classic. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is so big for the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury. The Seahawks, close games is what they do. Russell Wilson is as good a finisher, closer, whatever you want to call it, as there is in the game today and in any other era. When the game was close like that, I'm thinking, I mean, this is, this plays right into the Seahawks' hands. This is what they do. They live for these close, tight games and the finishes, and then they find a way to pull it out at the end. I thought it was over when DK Metcalf sprinted down the sideline, but they called the penalty. And here I was thinking the two best closers of the night are Blake Trinan from the Dodgers and Russell Wilson from the Seahawks, because Trinan got the save in the Dodgers and Rays game in the World Series. But yeah, like you said, I mean, this is so big for the Cardinals. I mean, and what a great is this now like maybe the best rivalry in the NFL? Or at least it's got to be up there. Cardinals versus Seahawks. I think every time they play, there's just something crazy things happen. Whether it's a 6-6 tie in overtime that it goes through the whole overtime, whether it's a shootout, whether it's Marshawn Lynch running beast mode crazy, 70-some yards or whatever to pay dirt. Whether it's in Seattle or in Glendale, always an entertaining game between these two teams. I was so glad to see it move to Sunday night, with the other game moved back. What was it? I can't remember the other game that was. Yeah,
Tampa and Vegas.
Sure. So I'm so glad to see. I was really glad to see that the schedule got switched there. Tough as a fan because I really wanted to watch the World Series and the football game, which I managed to do. That was a lot of fun, and that's going to go a long way. Some of those players who stepped up for the Cardinals yesterday were guys that had not done a whole lot this season, and that's only going to Isaiah Simmons, big play, big interception to set up the winning field goal. So that's going to go a long way for those kids, for those young guys who are going to help that team.
Absolutely. Budda Baker came up big again, like he always does. 14 tackles last night. Talked about Hassan Reddick, had his 5th sack last night of the season. Young man is continuing to balling as far as balling out. He's kind of shedding that bust status that a lot of people put on him. Now he's actually playing up to his potential as far as an outside linebacker is concerned. Dre Kirkpatrick had a good game last night. I know he was banged up, so he was in and out last night. He had 10 tackles. Byron Murphy again with another huge sack on Russell Wilson in overtime last night. Just for them to bounce back the way they did from a horrific first half. Again, almost 400 yards they gave up defensively against Russell Wilson and those Seahawks. And again, to hold them to less than 200 in the second half and overtime. What a great adjustment that the Cardinals did defensively. And again, Kyler Murray just coming up big. 360 yards last night, 3 touchdowns, and he just looked like it didn't even faze him. He was out there just having fun. Russell and Kyler Murray, this is setting up for, like you said, Jose, one of the great rivalries in all of sports outside of Steelers-Ravens. This might be one of the best rivalries in the NFL. I agree.
Game of the season, maybe. It's got to be like top 2 or 3 best games this season.
And they'll get to see them again in about a month up in Seattle when they go to CenturyLink Field. They've got the bye, then they've got Miami and Buffalo, then they go back to Seattle. I know the Seahawks cannot wait until the Cardinals get back up there to try to get some revenge on them. But again, that's a statement victory, Joe and Jose, for them to beat the Seahawks. They were 4-0 in one-possession games this season, 14-2 over the last 2 seasons. So, like you said, Jose, this is what the Seahawks do. They love games like this. Pete Carroll loves to have his guys in positions like this. This is what they do. But luckily, the Cardinals came out on the positive end of this game last night. It was one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. What a great game and a great win for the Cardinals to go to 5-2. They're a half game behind Seattle.
Yeah. The Arizona Cardinals are they're like the talk of the day, talk of the week, coming up top of the Seattle Seahawks. It was tough for me to watch because I would watch and something would happen. They would come down short. They were close to making that touchdown, which they didn't make, and turned it over to Seattle. And it was like anytime I tuned into that game, it was like something was did not fail to go wrong. And I feel like I was like, cursing them or, like their bad luck charm. So I don't know if I should watch any more Cardinals game. I was lucky to, see that last bit of it where they came up, with the win. But I was like almost convinced. I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I should be watching, because I stopped watching for a while. And then that's when the whole game turned around. And I'm like, really? Because I switched to the baseball game. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. Like, so I'm almost convinced that I should not watch any more Cardinals games and see if their luck changes a little bit for maybe at least the next couple of games and see how it goes.
No, Joe, but in a game like that, they needed your support. In a crazy game like that, when everything was going wrong for the Cardinals in the first half and they had to rally and just hold on, and the only lead they had of the game was the final score. Of course, that's the best time to lead, when you kick a field goal in overtime to win it. But they needed your support last night, Joe. They needed everybody's support. They needed the Red Sea last night, and they got all the support they needed. But what a phenomenal game. Oh, my gosh, that was a good game.
And I think we can all agree that when the Cardinals are going good, it's good for the Valley. This is a football town, it's a football area. High school football is big here. Arizona State is big here. The Cardinals have been big here since they came here. So, when the football teams are going good, and especially the Cardinals, who have not enjoyed a ton of success over their time here, but when they're going good, it's good for everybody, and it's good for all the crowds and all the fans here in the Valley.
And guys, right now the Cardinals are the only game in town. They're the only big game in town. So for Sunday Night Football to come to Glendale, even though they had to reschedule with the Raiders, with their COVID situation, with their offensive linemen, the Cardinals loved it. That's a great way for them to show and prove 2 primetime games in a week. That really bodes well for the Cardinals. That'll bode well. I'm sure NBC and ESPN's looking at this team like, oh, I wonder how we can flex some games and feature them more on prime time. This Kyler Murray kid is phenomenal. This DeAndre Hopkins kid, they're good. Their defense is good. Everybody wants to see Budda Baker. This is an all-pro right here. And this is a good football team, and Cliff Kingsbury has them on the right path. They've already won as many games as they did last year. And this is his most significant victory since being the Cardinals head coach.
Definitely. I could not agree more, Ed. And talking about some good, we're going to mix it with a little bit of bad, mix it with a little bit of ugly. So,
Joe, can we make a great category and put the Cardinals in a great, good, bad, and ugly category? Because that was great.
Make a special category.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was thinking earlier, because it was like, a little bit of a mixed emotion there, with me watching that game. I was like, I don't know where to put this, maybe all of the above. That probably should be our category, all of the above, when we can pick a team that fits all of those categories. But I'm going to kick it off with you, Jose, with the good of this last week's football games. What was your good?
Yeah, I mean, that hard to top the game last night in prime time. The Washington football team looked pretty good against a very depleted Dallas Cowboys team. The 49ers looked really, really good against the Patriots. I mean, they embarrassed the Patriots yesterday. This division, this NFC West, I mean, the Rams are killing it right now as we speak. This is shaping up to be the division in football right now in the NFL. Everybody's got a winning record. Everybody looks pretty tough against whoever they go up against. So I thought another good thing on my last point, I think Justin Herbert looks really good for the LA Chargers right now. I'm a little biased because I'm an Oregon guy and he's a Duck. But I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing from him. He doesn't look like he's rattled out there. He's a rookie. He's pressing for that Rookie of the Year. He's making his case. That team's got a ways to go, but he has stepped in for Tyrod Taylor, and he's looked pretty good leading that team.
Justin Herbert is one of my goods. Yesterday, almost 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns he threw. He ran for almost 70 yards and a touchdown, ran for a 5-yard touchdown. Justin Herbert, like you said, the lights are not too big for that young man. He has come in since Tyrod Taylor's crazy situation with his punctured lung, and he has taken that Chargers team, although they're 2-4, he has taken that team. He's taken complete control of that team, and he does not look like a rookie. He looks so good. I was impressed by what he did yesterday against Jacksonville. Yeah, look for the Chargers to continue to get better as Justin Herbert continues to get better. So that's one of my goods. Another one of my goods is the Pittsburgh Steelers going down to Nashville and knocking off the previously unbeaten Tennessee Titans. They go to 6-0. Tough win down there. They had them 27-7. They had to withstand a furious rally by the Tennessee Titans in the second half. But the Steelers going down to Nashville on the road and going to 6-0 is another one of my goods. Another good is from Houston. Joe, your Green Bay Packers, they bounced back from that loss against Tampa. Aaron Rodgers looked phenomenal yesterday. Just classic Aaron Rodgers, throwing 4 touchdowns. Another good is Green Bay bouncing back from losing to the Buccaneers, and they win 35-20 over a really bad Houston Texans team, but it's a team on your schedule, and you win on the road.
I'm glad to see that Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers were able to bounce back from that horrific beatdown from Tampa. That was just, ouch, brutal. You guys know Green Bay. I'm a Packer, Aaron Rodgers fan, through and through. And that was just, good to see that it didn't really take too much of effect on them, which was great. Well, now we're going to mix in a little bit of bad. There was a lot of bad we saw yesterday, right? Or Sunday, I should say. But I'll start off with you, Ed, on this one. I know you have a lot of bad to share on this last weeks of football. Give it to me.
But you know what? Let me add another good. Tyler Bass for the Buffalo Bills kicked 6 field goals yesterday to beat the New York Jets. He was the only offense for the Buffalo Bills yesterday. So another good will be Tyler Bass kicking 6 field goals. What a great performance by him to lead the victory over the New York Jets, which is another bad. They're 0-7. The Jets are horrendous. That's another bad. The Dallas Cowboys yesterday had less than 150 yards of offense against the Washington football team. Another bad in that game, John Bostic. We talked about this before our taping. John Bostic hitting Andy Dalton and knocking him out. That was just another bad. That was just a black mark on the league and something that should not have happened. That's another bad that Andy Dalton got knocked out. He was 9 of 19 for 75 yards, an interception. Just the Cowboys are just in free fall. They're 2-5. They are completely falling apart. Mike McCarthy has completely lost that team. I'm sure that team, the players, he's lost the players. They've lost belief in him. And I'm sure that's just the situation that's really bad down there. Jose, another bad one was, like you said, the New England Patriots going to 2-4. They're 2-4 right now. When's the last time they've been 2-4? It's been probably 2 decades before Bill Belichick got there that they're 2-4. But the San Francisco 49ers destroyed them in Foxborough. Bill Belichick's worst home loss ever, losing by 27 against the 49ers yesterday. Those are my bads.
I'll just throw one in there. I was disappointed in Josh Allen with Buffalo yesterday. I thought, his September, I guess he had a really good September, a good first month of the season, lights out. I mean, he was probably right up there in the conversation for the MVP in the AFC, the AFC's best offensive player. But, this month has not been as kind to him. He struggled last week. And, like Ed was talking about, they kicked 6 field goals. They didn't get any touchdowns. Josh Allen was able to move the ball down the field, but he didn't throw any touchdowns. That's still a pretty good team. And when he's clicking, they're scary. Buffalo is. But he's got to find a way to get back to those September numbers if that team is going to do anything else.
And just looking at the stats from that game, Buffalo had 422 yards of offense, but they only kicked 6 field goals. So that means either they weren't converting on third downs or just drives were dying. And they had to lean on Tyler Bass to kick 6 field goals. But usually when you have that many yards, 420 yards plus, you would think you'd get a few, at least 2 or 3 or 4 touchdowns, but they got none. But Josh Allen still threw for 307 yards, but they just weren't able to sustain drives and get into the end zone. But still, give them credit for buckling down and getting that victory like they needed to against a really bad New York Jets team.
For me, I want to go back to what you were saying with the Cowboys, Ed. 2 consecutive losses for the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to be a big challenge for Dallas and Dalton. We talked about it a little bit last week's show. I don't know what to say more for the Cowboys and how they can just be able to turn this around. I know losing Dak is a huge hit for them, but is just taking them just down even more without him there.
It's hard because now if Dalton cannot play on Sunday night against the Eagles, another huge game for the Dallas Cowboys, then you're down to your rookie quarterback, Ben DiNucci. So now you're down to your 3rd string quarterback in a season where I'm sure the Cowboys thought it wasn't ever going to be this bad, that you would lose Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton. And now you're down to a rookie quarterback and just a dumpster fire of a season. But now this is the situation they're placed in. So if Dalton doesn't go, you've got a rookie going at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia against the Eagles in a game that you have to win, because now the Washington football team is